What is up, ninth graders? This is Mr. Berman. I am inviting you on a portion of my drive home. Is Wednesday afternoon, and we are starting up a new unit on, wrapping up the unit on identity. And the last question to ask ourselves is how do these various identities of ours show up in the world around us? And one of the ways to look at that is to look at the world around us and to ask questions and to be, thoughtful, to look closely at how did policies of the past that differentiated between people based on their identities, racial identities in particular, but also immigrant status and others, or religious identities in the case of Jewish people. How did that impact how the world itself, how our neighborhoods and cities were built? So I'm going to take you on part of my drive home. We're going to drive down an important road in Tacoma. I live in Tacoma, so it's a little bit south of you guys, over in Des Moines, Burien area. And it's called 6th Avenue, and it divides the north end, where my wife went to school, university, from the south end, which is where we ended up buying a house. They're very close together though, but there's kind of a stark difference. So I just pulled off not too far from my house, and I'm going to drive you down a little ways, and you'll notice that here we are in the south end, and there's just like a little bit less care for the roads, right? Maybe a little bit less infrastructure in terms of sidewalks. Some of the houses are a little older. There's maybe more apartment buildings. Let's see, let's go this way. And I'm gonna get us over to 6th Avenue in just a second, which is that dividing line, like I said. As I drive, I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the vocab that you'll need. I'll roll up my window. So some of the vocab you'll need for this unit is, one is mortgage. I'll show you what we're looking at. So a mortgage is the loan that you take out on a house, and it turns out that at different times in our history, different people based on their identity were denied mortgages, or were only allowed to take out mortgages in different neighborhoods. So that's the first one, mortgages. The second one is a covenant, and a covenant is a rule in a neighborhood. So if you have like a new neighborhood you're building, you're only going to allow certain people to buy a house there. So only white people could buy a house in this neighborhood. Anybody that was Jewish or Asian or black couldn't buy a house in that neighborhood. And so, like I said, we're going to be looking at maps quite a bit today. Here we're coming up on 6th Avenue. And there's an important dividing line that you're going to see in all the maps, and here it is right here, 6th Avenue. 6th Avenue is going to cut to the right, which is east, and then back here to the left, and it's going to have the north end on the right-hand side, so on the north side, and the south end, or the south side of Tacoma, on the left side. So I'm just going to drive you from the south side of Tacoma real quick up over to my wife's university, where she got her degree in physical therapy. So here's 6th Avenue. The south side is on the left. That's where we started. The north side is going to be on the right. Let's see. What about more vocabulary? We talked about mortgages. We talked about covenants. The other and really important piece of vocabulary to understand is this concept called redlining. And redlining was literally a red line on a map. And the federal government made maps kind of right after World War II in the 40s and 50s because they wanted to support home ownership for working class folks, people that were coming back from war and needed the support of the federal government to buy a home. Well, that's all well and good, but the fact of the matter is that based on your identity, certain people had access to those loans, or certain people could use those loans for neighborhoods that were on the right side of the road or, you know, on the wrong side of the road. So if you were a returning soldier who was black, you know, same exact program, you're accessing a federal program to buy a home, but you would go to buy that home and you would only be taken to neighborhoods that were called redlined, that were high minority neighborhoods, so a high percentage of black people living there, and tended to have way lower home values. Because of the fact that they were redlined, they were considered riskier loans, and so they were actually had a higher interest rate, so you had to pay a higher price on your mortgage. All right, let me show you where we're heading now. So we're about to take a right on 6th Avenue, or from 6th Avenue up into the north end to the University of Puget Sound. Oh, I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna go down. I'm ducking through. I'm ducking through the gas station real quick. And so now as we drive north, we're just gonna see that the lots are a little bit bigger. You know, the roads are a little bit wider. There also tend to be fewer potholes, right? The sidewalks are broader, the trees are older. And, you know, this is the neighborhood that has a lot more of the professors from the from the university, a lot more of the students that went to this kind of, you know, fancier private university. Yeah, here it is, University of Puget Sound on the left. So that's where my wife went to school. Let me see if I can get over there on this road. Yeah, here we go. Oh, campus entrance once more. Oh, that's a pretty nice little spot. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. So this was the university that my wife attended to become a physical therapist. Great career. She works with school children that need to learn how to walk or how to use their wheelchair or things like that. And I'm just going to park real quick and wrap up the video by kind of showing you what this campus looks like. Like I said, UPS is a pretty exclusive spot. You know, it's a private university. It costs a lot of money. They have a lot of scholarship programs and things. Doesn't mean you can't come here. But, you know, if you think back to like 40 and 50 years ago, the people that would have been in this neighborhood would have been wealthier, you know, almost 100% white. And it was in a lot of ways because they were the ones that were able to purchase the homes in the neighborhoods back that way, right? That would allow them to build that wealth. Whereas if you were a returning serviceman, a returning soldier, and you were coming back from the war and you were looking to buy a house and you were black, well, you would be put in a neighborhood that, you know, was much more, you know, low income, much more, you know, much less services from the city. And so we're going to take a look at some of those maps today. And I want you to just remember that 6th Avenue dividing line, because you're going to see it over and over and over again in all kinds of maps. Not just about like where people live and people's identities, but also different outcomes. You know, the price of a home, the income of a family, the wealth of the families, you know, average wealth, also health outcomes, you know. And so, you know, birth, you know, life expectancy at birth, things like that. And it's just a real disparate outcome based on our identity. And it's one of the most stark kind of examples. And so it's pretty challenging to, you know, to navigate this, you know, this material, because it is an injustice. And, you know, part of learning about the contemporary world problems is learning how to stand up for them and how to change them. And so that's also a part of this class. But, you know, we're wrapping up this unit by looking at a pretty stark difference between the neighborhood that my wife went to school in versus the neighborhood that we bought a house in. And the fact of the matter is they're pretty close by. All right, look forward to working with you on this unit. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.